Hi everyone, so today I wanted to do another kind of video based on thoughts that I was having kind of reading through the word earlier this month. And I'm probably going to be kind of flipping back and forth between something I typed on my laptop just to try to stay on track if possible and not go off topic, but we'll see how that goes. So today I was reading in the book of Joshua, and I was reading Joshua 1, verse 5, and it says, "There shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. I will not fail thee nor forsake thee." And I was just reading that this morning, and I was just thinking, wow, like what a promise that the Lord made to Joshua. After all the miracles the Lord had performed and the parting of the Red Seas, he says to Joshua, "There shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. I will not fail thee nor forsake thee." So I just started thinking about how the Lord had won battle after battle for the Israelites, and even parting the Red Seas for them to walk through, while releasing the waters to come down on their enemies, the Egyptians who were chasing after them. And it makes me think of all the wonders and miracles God has done in my life, even just everything He has sustained me through that I didn't know or feel I could get through, that He has been the hand sustaining me from the beginning and through everything I've faced and experienced in my life. And as I was reading this particular verse and kind of pondering and reflecting over this, I started thinking about the things that I'm facing in my life, the struggles I'm facing in my life, and how easy it is for me to kind of get seized into that place of fear, that place of anxiety, or just overwhelm or exhaustion, or even this feeling of defeat, essentially. And I was just reading over this, and I was just pondering over how God had won battle after battle for the Israelites. And so He was giving Joshua this promise. And we also see in the book of Joshua, the Lord reminds Joshua that to be strong. And in verse 9 we see, "Have not I commanded thee, be strong and of a good courage, be not afraid, neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with thee, wheresoever thou goest." So I was just thinking about that this morning, and when it comes to my own struggles that I've been going through, just the reminder that as the Lord was with Joshua, as the Lord was with Moses, as the Lord was constantly fighting for the Israelites, parted the Red Sea and made a way for the Israelites, that the same God that did all those things, that performed all those amazing miracles, and I even look at the wonders and miracles that the Lord has performed in my life, and even just the fact that, like I said, He has been the hand sustaining me through everything that I've faced that I didn't even know or feel I could get through. That same God is the God that we have. He is our God too. The same God. And I'm reminded of all the Lord has done and how I can be still and rest in Him, that He is the one who has provided when there has looked like there was no way out, and has brought me through the deepest waters in my life. And so I was just kind of reading over this and thinking about the story of the Israelites, and What I find really interesting is, in the story of the Israelites, we see God providing the Israelites manna, right? He rained down manna from heaven. He provided for them in that way, and he was trying to teach them that he was their provision. And I find it really interesting because not only, did he rain down manna, and that manna being rained down from heaven ultimately was symbolism and foreshadowing of Jesus. When Jesus, talks about, how the people's ancestors, talking about the Israelites, they did, you know, have manna being rained down from heaven. But Jesus talks about how he is the true bread from heaven, and he is the bread of life that gave his life for the world. And so what I find really interesting is in the story of the Israelites, that God is trying to get the Israelites to take their eyes off the law, stop following the law. And we see this in the story of Israelites. They keep saying, when Moses gives commands, they keep saying to Moses, all that the Lord hath commanded me to do, all that the Lord hath commanded me to do. Well, of course, like us, the Israelites end up breaking their promises repeatedly in their own human efforts. So you see the Lord keep commanding them to set aside a day of rest. And it's not just a coincidence. They're supposed to take a day of Sabbath and rest. They're supposed to do no work. And the New International Version of the Bible even says they're supposed to deny themselves. Not look to themselves, not look to their works and efforts, not trying to keep the law, but they're supposed to rest. And I find that so interesting, because God was trying to give them rest. And I look at the story, and it's like they were making it so hard on themselves. They were trying so hard to follow the law, and essentially what they had done is they had rejected that. God was trying to show them that he was the only one that could save them. And that's why we also see in the Old Testament, especially when it comes to like the Israelites, they're given all these different laws, and then there's all these explanations of how this sin is supposed to be atoned for. And it says that if any of them have even somewhat sinned, that they're guilty. Again, showing that the standard of the law is perfection. So I find it really interesting. And then we see the foreshadowing when it talks about animal sacrifices, and talks about how they're supposed to find animals without blemish. Again, the symbolism of the Lamb of God, the final sacrifice that was completely perfect and sinless, that would take away the sins of the world and die on the cross. But you see it repeatedly talk about that their blood must be shed. And again, that's symbolism of Jesus shedding and pouring out his precious blood for us, and that it is his blood is the only thing that can save us. But what I find so interesting is God came to give the Israelites rest. He wanted them to have rest. He longed for them to have rest. And yet that very rest that the Lord was trying to give them, they rejected it and they wouldn't receive it, essentially. That's why it says in the book of Hebrews, the Israelites did not enter into the promised land because of their unbelief. A lot of people think it's about the lack of obedience they showed. But if that was true, if it was about that, then why was the Lord constantly commanding them to set aside a day of rest? Because it wasn't about them essentially it wasn't about obedience. It was about that they rejected that rest. They were trying to do it all themselves. They were trying to essentially look to the law. And we see this whenever the Israelites, you'll see it talks about, I believe in the book of Exodus, it talks about how they say we loathe this light bread. So we see them complaining about the manna, but we see, the word specifically, we loathe this light bread. They're not just complaining about the manna, but again, it's symbolism as that light bread. So the Lord is trying to provide for them. The Lord wanted to give them rest, longed to give them rest, and they're trying to follow the commands, but they'd already failed to live up to the commands, that failed to live up to the law. So we see, bread being talked about later on when Jesus talks about how he is the bread of life that gave his life for the world. And then we also see the word light, L-I-G-H-T, in the New Testament as well, when Jesus says, "For my yoke is easy and my burden is light, ye shall find rest unto your souls." Or he says, "For I am meek and lowly in heart, you shall find rest unto your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." So when we see the Israelites complaining about the manna and saying, "We loathe this light bread," essentially, they're talking about the rest that the Lord came to give them. They entered not into the promised land because of their unbelief, because they didn't believe. And it actually says that in the book of Hebrews. It's in chapter 3. It was verse 18 and 19. "And to whom swear he that they should not enter into his rest, but to them that believed not." So we see that they could not enter in because of unbelief. So that's why the Israelites didn't enter in. No, when it comes to all of that, I just find it so interesting because I was just thinking about the story of the Israelites. And the Lord wanted to give them rest, and yet they rejected and didn't receive that very rest that came from the Lord, that could only come from the Lord. And I not only see that in that they were constantly trying to look to the law, but I also see that in all the, like I said, the wonders and the miracles that the Lord performed, and all the battles that the Lord had won for them. And the Lord had done all that in their life, and yet, they still, and he provided for them, they struggled to believe he would provide for them. And Moses says in Exodus 14, verse 13 to 14, right? Because the Israelites are starting to, get a little bit panicked. It says, "And Moses said unto the people, Fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace." And I find that really, really interesting. Just that whole concept of rest that the Lord wanted to give the Israelites. And I believe that rest, the Lord longs for us to know that rest, that we have rest in Jesus, that He is the one who has saved us with His precious blood. And I also believe the Lord longs for us to know the rest we have in Him, that as, I was reading the part of the story of Joshua, or that verse in the book of Joshua, that we would be reminded of the rest that only comes from the Lord. That no matter what we are going through, that we can be still and know that He is God alone. The hand that has been sustaining us through everything we have faced in our life. That He is the one who is fighting our battles. No matter what the situation may look like. And I hope you can truly believe that, as I'm trying to believe that. But something else I want to share with you is, even in the times where we're struggling to believe those things, or believe the Lord is fighting for us, or we're struggling to leave things at the Lord's feet, or to trust Him, that even in these moments, the Lord wants us to come to Him, as His child, and that we can just be completely honest with the Lord. And I believe even in those times where we're struggling to trust Him, or we feel this fear, this anxiety, or overwhelm, that the Lord is right there waiting for us to just be honest with Him, that He wants to remind us who He is and give us His peace in those moments, and remind us He is the one that is fighting for us, even when we can't see anything, that we could learn to be still. He's fighting for us, and don't have to fear Him. There is rest found in His presence. So I pray that we would be able to know that rest that we have in the Lord. In the book of Hebrews, it says that we have entered into that rest, and we have ceased from our works just as God has ceased from His. So, the Lord created the world in 6 days, and the seventh day He rested. So that seventh day is signaling, or it stands for completion. And the number 7 is a recurring number in the Bible, and ultimately it leads us to the finished work of Jesus. That number 7 standing for completion, finished. And we see the perfect finished work of Jesus. And we see Jesus say, "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, I will give you rest." So He says that to all that work, all that have been working, and come to Him, where all our rest is found, and the only place where our rest is found, and not just that we have this temporary rest, but that we have eternal rest in heaven one day, that we have eternal rest here on this earth, that we can rest in Jesus' perfect finished work. And I also believe the Lord wants us to know that we can rest in Him, and His infinite strength, and His infinite power, and that He is the one providing for us, and He is the one fighting our battles, and the one sustaining us through everything. So I hope this can give you encouragement. I just wanted to share, because I was reading part of Joshua, and it just really got me thinking, and reminded me, in the midst of kind of the situations I've been dealing with, that God is still fighting for me, even in the circumstance I'm dealing with. The Lord has not forgotten us. He is so right by our side. He's so fighting for us. And I'm reminded of everything the Lord has done in my life. And I want to rest in all of that. That I don't need to look to the fear that is trying to make its way into my mind, or the feeling of defeat, or wondering how am I going to get out of this, or how am I going to get through this situation. And then it's just to know that because of God, not only can I bring all those questions and those fears to Him, and even when I'm struggling to trust Him, that I can be completely honest with God, but that also I can learn how to be still and come to a deeper and deeper place of resting in Him as I recall who the Lord has been in my life and what He has done, and how no matter what happens, whether things get better, whether things get worse, whether things change or don't, that He is the one sustaining me through everything. And because He is the one that fights for every battle, He is the one that holds every victory. He is our victory. So I hope this can be an encouragement to you, that whatever you're going through, that we can just fall into the Lord's strength as He fights for us. He carries us through the circumstances we may be facing. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a good day.